All right, EJ Daigle here again, and today I'm going to do a little bit of a demonstration using what I call a document camera, or what's called a document camera. It's important to know that what I'm doing today isn't what I use all the time, but there are times where using an overhead camera or even just a inexpensive webcam mounted on a tripod over what you're doing can be extremely helpful because I can show things, I can put things in front, I can talk about them on video that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do. Or using PowerPoint, I might be able to take a picture and have a single snapshot. But I'm not going to get a 300-degree image of what we're doing. So using video again, today I'll be using the Epson document camera. Upon successful completion of this topic, you will be able to describe the benefits of live demonstrations and the use of a camera like what I'm using today. All right, now I'm going to go to the next slide. Here we go. And so my topic today is going to be that of an electromechanical relay. Many of you guys use electromechanical relays. Again, if you're doing anything with basic electricity, automotive folks, we use something called a starter solenoid. And the starter solenoid essentially works like this. And the auto folks are going to make fun of me because I'm going to oversimplify this. But essentially, when you turn the key on your ignition, we route a signal to the starter solenoid. What we don't do is we don't route, hundreds of amps of current through that key switch that you're holding in your hand down to the starter for your engine, right? That starter solenoid serves as what we call a relay. So essentially, the key switch is a control circuit that goes through a coil in the starter solenoid, and that coil becomes what we call an electromagnetic relay. So when I turn that key switch on, if I click this on, that little key closes the circuit there, this coil will energize. By energizing that coil, I create what's called an electromagnet. And then over here on the power side of the circuit, there's what's called a contact. And the contact has a common, that's kind of like the pivot point, and it even has a little spring that kind of holds it onto that normally closed contact. But when the electromagnet energizes, I pull this contact across over to here, and now I'm on the normally open contact. So it's drawn in normally open circuit off, but the closed circuit is on, and I can overcome that spring tension by basically energizing this electromagnet on here, which basically pulls this contact across to make contact over here. So that is essentially the guts of the electromechanical relay. Now let me kind of show you a little bit as to what we're talking about. This is the actual relay itself. So I'm going to zoom in on this. And again, this is the benefit of having the document camera. I can kind of move the camera around. I can change the lighting. I can zoom in quite a bit if I want. I might pull the lighting down a little bit more. I might hit focus. And now I can see what this relay is made up of. I can see that it's a 24-volt DC coil relay. I can turn it over on its side, and I can actually see the 24-volt DC coil right here. Oh, and by the way, if you look real carefully here, I'm going to go after it with my little Sharpie marker here. This is the normally closed contact. This is the normally open contact. And then this is the common terminal over here. So if I energize this electromagnet here, I actually pull this contact down to make contact with that normally open contact. So it changes positions. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to plug this relay into what we call a relay base right here. And so if I plug this into the base, I now can turn it on its side again. I'll try to go on the same side here. And I've got a little 24-volt circuit wired up here, so we should be able to actually watch this thing energize and be able to see what it's doing here. So now I can see my contact and I can see my coil. And I'm just going to come in here with another wire. You can kind of see me coming in from the side here. And I hope you can see what's happening here. I energize that coil, and that coil pulls that contact down, and it moves from this side up here down to the bottom. I'm basically switching a switch, an electromagnetic switch, on and off using another circuit. So that means I can have my key switch in my car control maybe milliamps of current, but the starter solenoid could control hundreds of amps of current to turn over your engine on a cold day or whatever that is. So what you got to get used to looking at And why this camera is so beneficial is I can actually show students now exactly what those terminals are. So as an example, if they're wondering what the coil is, I can say, look guys, the coil is right here. I'm going to pull my cap off again here. The coil is right here, this little box, and terminal 10 and terminal 11 make up the coil. Terminal 7 is my common, and then the switch goes between the normally closed contact and the normally open contact. 1 is normally closed, 4 is normally open. And this is actually kind of a little unique view right now because you can actually see that spring that I talked about a few minutes ago as well. And there's even a little indicator lamp that's going to turn on anytime I energize this relay. But again, the benefit of this, what's the biggest benefit of using this in the case of a lecture? Well, the huge benefit is I can actually show students live how this thing works. You know, I can find the two terminals on the back here and say, where are those two terminals? Let me zoom out a little bit. Well, we talked about on the front, I don't know if you guys can remember, we talked about them being pins 10 and 11 for the coil. So I can actually zoom in on the back and you'll barely be able to see this, or I might even give you a little more focus. You can see that one definitely says 10. And over here, maybe turn the light on, see if that helps. There we go, 10 and 11. It's a little bit of playing with my dot cam here to get it to the where I want it. But then if I energize those two, you can hear that relay click. If I do it from here and kind of turn it on its side, we can actually see that relay clicking. So a huge benefit to be able to actually not only talk about in theory what a relay does, and I drew the diagram of the relay right here, but I can actually draw, you know, here's my relay, here's my normally closed contact, here's my common, here's my normally open contact, and here's my coil. So now they know exactly what's going on. And sometimes I'll get people asking me, well, why are there all these extra terminals back here? Well, the reason why is there's actually 3 sets of contacts. So I could actually control 3 different things from this single solitary relay. So a huge benefit using a camera like this, a document camera, or even just a simple webcam with a tripod can be good enough to do this. So with that, that concludes this lesson on the document camera and some of the benefits and how we can use it. Again, if you guys have any questions along the way and you want to get a hold of me or you want to talk more about this specific topic, maybe you have a really good use for it, I really highly recommend you to reach out to me via email, edagel@dunwoody.edu. Or you can also contact me via phone number 612-381-8172. And feel free to rewind this, watch it over and over again, or stop by my office and I'd be happy to show you this technology as a potential solution for your class. Thanks.